Hello everyone, today we are going to continue our topic of records and information systems, and we're going to deal with two particular subtopics. The first one being file cuts and position, so please pay very close attention to the slide, pay close attention especially to the illustrations and the notes. I will post a few assignments on Google Classroom after for you to complete. Thank you very much. Okay, so there are examples of different folder cuts. It can be as little as a half a cut, it can be a full cut, or it can be a third cut tab. So what these are basically are the tabs on the folder. If you would look at the three folder diagrams on the slide that I have right now, you would see the full cut here. The tab is the back one that's elevated right there. It goes along the full length of the folder, so that's why they call it a full cut tab. It's the full length of the folder, and it's focused on the flap that's at the back of the folder. You know that the folder has two flaps, of course, because it's folded in half and you have to open it, so it has two sides. For the most part, there are two flaps. I'm just calling them flaps because I don't know exactly what else to say that, but it's called a folder because it's folded in half, and you can securely store documents and papers and things inside of the folder. Now, if you look at the half cut tab, you'll see that the line stops halfway across the folder instead, and that's what we call a half cut tab. So the half cut tab stops directly in the middle of the folder, half cut tab, and again it's at the back here, so it's elevated at the back here, and it's only a half cut. So we see with the full cut tab it was the full length of the folder, but with the half cut tab it's a half cut, and with the third cut tab it's the same thought process, the same idea. You have a third of the folder, the tab will be a third of the width of a third of the folder. So basically the folder can be divided into three. So if you were to have a fifth cut, the folder would be divided into 5 equal parts, and each one would have a tab. So these are some examples of the full folder cut length or tab or whatever. Next slide, we'll see some more examples of the folder cuts. However, we're not just going to be dealing with the cuts. We're going to be dealing with the position now. The first slide, the previous slide, we dealt with the cut. Now we're dealing with the actual position of the folder cuts. In the first slide, we dealt with the first half a cut, a third of a cut, and a full cut. Now, they don't have full cut on this slide, but I still want you guys to be aware of that. But the half in this slide, we're dealing with a half a cut, a third cut, a quarter cut, a fifth cut, and usually folders don't really go past in normal offices. They don't really go past the fifth cut. But for filing purposes, we can have as many as a tenth of a cut. So a file can have as many as 10 possible tabs and 10 possible positions for those tabs. I want you guys to note this part carefully. I don't have this in the slide, I forgot, but I'm going to tell it to you. For the number of cuts or the number of possible tabs that you have in the folder, that's the amount of positions that you can have in the folder. So with the half cut tabs, you have 2 positions, first and second. With the quarter cut tab, you have 4 cuts and you have 4 positions. So you can have first position, second position, third position, or fourth position. And the same goes for the fifth cut, the 10th cut, and the third cut. Okay, so for this one, we see that it's similar to the previous slide, except I intentionally left the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out, because these figures here highlight the positions of the folders. Remember, the cut, if it's half, then look at the denominator. It's 2, 2, so there are 2 cuts. There are 2 cuts and 2 positions. The number of cuts equal the number of positions. It's not something that's in the slide, but it's definitely something I would like for you guys to pay close attention to. And I'm going to highlight it, go through the highlighting just so you guys can see and pay a little bit of attention to it. So for the first one, the half cut, you have 1 position and then you have 2 positions. So you have 2 different positions. I'm using different colors because I want to highlight the differences between them so that you guys can see. So for the third cut, you have 1, 2, 3 positions. Okay, the same thing goes for the fourth cut, the quarter cut. 4 positions. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Same thing goes for the fifth cut. The fifth cut is going to have how many positions, you guys think? Exactly, it's going to have 5 positions. So let's look at it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm not going to do the 10th position, but I know some of you are like, oh, Ms. Drakes, you running out and you're doing this. No, I want you guys to pay close attention to this because a lot of you need to see it to really understand the difference, okay? So I need you guys to pay attention. The half cut, remember, the amount of cuts equals the number of positions. The amount of cuts equals the amount of position. A third cut tells you that there are 3 cuts on 3 possible tabs, 3 possible positions. Okay? If you do not understand this after you've watched this video, watch the video again. And if you still don't understand it, please let me know. Send me a message and let me know so that I can explain it further to you. Slide. A possible question from BGCSE paper. Draw and label. I don't know why this is cut out, but the question is supposed to say, draw and label a half-cut folder, a half-cut tab in the second position. And this would be the example here given, a half-cut tab in the second position. I'm sorry that that's cut out, but that was what the question is. Draw and label a folder with a half-cut tab in the second position. That's the question. For those of you who would like to write it down, make a note of it somewhere. The question is, draw and label a folder with a half-cut tab in the second position. And if you were to draw and label it, it would look something like this, or like this. This would be the answer. So you have first position and second position. The tab is exactly half of the folder in the second position. So a half-cut tab, I'm going to circle it in blue, a half-cut tab in the second position. I'm going to underline that there just to emphasize the point. Half-cut